My name's Emma Yorke and I was supposed to be showing my work at the Guildhall Gallery this year. You may have already seen a couple of my other videos where I've shared some information about how I make my work, for example using cyanotype photography processes working outdoors and then working into those pieces. You might have also heard me talking about collecting as a way of making references to use in my painting. But I also wanted to talk to you about another part of my practice, which is sort of combines those things and is about working outdoors with found objects in their environment. And sometimes this work does feed into my painting, but it's also work which is sort of important to me on its own, because it's about the way we experience place and how connected we are to place and how we exist in a reciprocal relationship with places. So it's not just that we can impact on them, they very much impact on us. I think at the moment particularly it's really important that we try and draw attention to the uniqueness and specialness of places that we exist in, and so this work is really about that. It's about paying attention. And the first time I started working like this was really back when I was studying at Newlyn School of Art. I then developed this way of sort of site-specific response working when I had a residency and exhibition at a gallery in London called the Crypt Gallery, and where I was working with flowers and ice and candles, as well as projections and my own images to kind of really respond to the atmosphere of that place. I then went a few years later to do some work at the Slade Summer School, where I focused really on interruptions and sort of natural spaces and materials I could find in that very urban environment. It's a place I knew really well. It changed a lot since I'd been there. Spent a lot of time there many years before. I was also really conscious of the sort of decline in bird life and the sound of the birds. So I made a lot of small nest interventions there, which really highlighted to me the changing environment, the lack of wild spaces in the city now. Then I carried on working that way when I went somewhere very wild and remote, which was the north of Scotland, and then up into the Orkney Islands and one of the most northerly ones, North Ronaldsay, where I really thought a lot about human impact in a wild place, what it means to be in a really wild place, a place which still does feel wild. Obviously it's been inhabited and lived in for a very long time, so these ideas about habitation and legacy and pollution, and really just this concept of how, as visitors now to wild places, we need to focus on how we can leave no trace, really. So sometimes the work stays in my memory only once it's taken away. Sometimes I document photographs and sometimes I recreate again for exhibitions in a gallery setting. But it's really about that moment of focusing attention. That's why I make work outdoors in the environment. I try and just use found objects from that environment, because that focuses my attention on what I'm doing there. It's a really freeing way of working. Sometimes it feeds into painting and other practice much later on. But what's wonderful about it is you don't have to worry about what other people think about it, or if there's a value attached to it in terms of commercial sales or anything. It exists in that moment for you when you're making that work as an experience for yourself, and that's really the most kind of exciting time when you're making work, I think. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to some insights into the way I work. It's such a shame we couldn't hold our show at the Guildhall Gallery, but hopefully there'll be other opportunities. If you'd like to know more about my work, you can look on my website. Thanks for listening.